And now back to the coronavirus. The health ministry announcing Monday an easing of restrictions with regards to the travel ban. Many countries taken off the red list, and now foreigners from orange countries will soon be allowed to enter Israel. But this may be too little too late for diaspora Jews who have been very openly critical of this administration's travel policies and who feel abandoned by the state of Israel. And so joining us now is Rabbi Dr. Warren Goldstein, the Chief Rabbi of South Africa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Very nice to be with you.
So first of all, I have to ask, how is the Omicron situation in South Africa?
I think it's an important question that you ask because it goes to the heart of what's going on. In South Africa, thank God, the infection rates are dropping dramatically. But even at the height, when infection rates were higher than any previous wave, the hospitals were relatively empty. And people who'd been vaccinated and even those not, we found, and this was anecdotally on the ground, I'm not an expert, but I can say from a community point of view and some of the hospital leadership that I spoke to, found that the ICU units, the intensive care units, the people on oxygen and serious illness was a fraction of what it was in any of the previous waves. It was the mildest wave by far.
All right, so some good news coming out of South Africa. And now to the travel ban. I mean, you've been openly critical of Israel's policies regarding this ban, calling it, I think, a moral disgrace. So how has this affected Israel's relations with South Africa Jews and diaspora Jews, in your opinion?
I think it's been enormously damaging to the relationship between with diaspora Jewry, because really the message has been this, and this is why I think why I've spoken out about it and feel it's something which is so important. The state of Israel is not just a state for its citizens, not just a state for Israeli citizens. It is the state of the Jewish people, and therefore it has a responsibility to Jews all around the world. And really, with the travel ban, the message of the Israeli government was saying to diaspora Jewry, you tourists. You're just like a tourist coming from Canada or from Germany, wherever you may be coming from. And really, as Jews of the world, we are saying we are not tourists when it comes to Israel. Israel is our home. It is part of who we are. Many of us have family in Israel. Many of our children study in Israel. It is part of the identity of diaspora Jewry, and also part of the identity of the Jewish state. Why I spoke out so strongly on this is for two reasons. One is the tremendous human suffering that it imposed with the separation of families. And there are cases all the time. I've heard, I've dealt with cases of a father who couldn't be at the bar mitzvah of his son, of grandparents who couldn't be at the weddings of their grandchildren. And in situations of bereavement and sorrow, we know of the friends who came to comfort the mourners of the Kay family after that the terrible terrorist incident, and they were denied entry into Israel. So there's a humanitarian dimension, but it is also the dimension of saying, what is the nature of the state of Israel? It is not a country like any other country that can say that our only responsibility is for our citizens. It is the nation state of the Jewish people. The founders of the state understood that. That's why they made the law of return. And the relationship with diaspora Jewry from the establishment of the state of Israel has always been one of partnership, brotherhood, sisterhood. We are one people, one family. And with these travel bans, the message from the Israeli government has been, we're not. Actually, you're on your own, we're on our own, and we bear no responsibility. And quite frankly, we have no interest in where you stand on this. And I think that has been what has been so painful, both from the humanitarian point of view, but also from the very identity of Israel as a Jewish state.
Now, you wrote a letter to Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, along with other Jewish leaders, objecting to the travel ban. Did you receive a response?
Well, I wrote two letters. There was an initial letter that I wrote at the time to Prime Minister Naftali Bennett after the family, the friends came from friends of Eliyahu Kay, who had been murdered, and they came to participate in the Shiva in the morning and to comfort the mourners, and they were turned away on a Friday afternoon and forced to desecrate Shabbat, to being forced to return home in aeroplanes on Shabbat. And I felt that was both from a humanitarian compassion point of view unacceptable, and also from a Jewish values point of view. How do you force a fellow Jew to break Shabbat? How does the Jewish state do that? That I wrote to Naftali Bennett, to Prime Minister Bennett, protest that action. I got no response from him or his office, not even acknowledgement of the letter. Separately to that, I wrote a letter to Prime Minister Herzog, was in contact with his office, pleading with him to intervene on the travel bans and to bring the message to the Prime Minister and to the Israeli government that this travel ban is unacceptable for all the reasons that I've mentioned. And in the letter that I wrote to President Herzog was a 5-page letter setting out all of the facts and figures of what is happening in South Africa, explaining how this is an overreaction, but beyond that, apart from the medical situation, it is really a breach of the contract and the covenant between the State of Israel and diaspora Jews. And I engaged with the president and asked him to intervene, which he undertook to do to help present the case of diaspora Jewry to the Israeli government. And so that was my letter to President Herzog, and I want to thank him for his responsiveness and warm reception.
Dr. Rabbi, we are out of time, unfortunately, but thank you so much for speaking with us about this important issue. Very happy to hear that President Herzog was able to speak with you and provide a response. And we hope that the travel ban will soon end and families will be able to be reunited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at ILTV.tv and watch from any device.